1940s, Harvard University conducted a study called the Framingham Heart Study. And one of the conclusions of the study, which was conducted over 20 years, is that happiness is contagious. And when a person is happy, it has a ripple effect that can go to 3 degrees, meaning your happiness affects your friends' friends, and your friends' friends. Even if someone within a mile of you is happy, it could have a ripple effect and affect your happiness level. Now, this is a little bit counterintuitive, because sometimes people think that happiness is something that you experience as an individual. But what this study proved conclusively is that happiness is a collective experience, and that the happier people around you are, the happier you will be. And happiness spreads within groups and within clusters. And therefore, seeking your own happiness at the expense of someone else's is actually undermining your own happiness. But if you want to be truly happy, you should seek the happiness of all those around you. I just blew the shofar, and when the Torah talks about the Jubilee year, the Torah says, proclaim freedom throughout the land for all its inhabitants. And our rabbis point out that there cannot be true freedom for an individual if those around them are not free. True freedom can only be experienced for all of the inhabitants of the land simultaneously. Because so long as there are those around you who are not free, who are oppressed in some way, who are subjugated in some way, your freedom and happiness cannot be complete. And this is illustrated in the beginning of this week's Torah portion with the mitzvah of Bikurim. The Torah says when you receive your bountiful blessings of your harvest, you should bring a basket of fruit as gratitude to celebrate the joy of your blessings and rejoice in all that God has given you. But our rabbis point out that the verse says, only after every Jew in the land of Israel has settled their land can we collectively perform the mitzvah of Bikurim. Even if a Jew received their portion and other Jews have not received theirs yet, they cannot celebrate Bikurim, because true happiness can only be experienced when the entire nation is settled and has their bountiful blessings together. I remember once talking to a musician, a keyboard player, and he told me that a woman once called him to see if he can perform and play at her son's bar mitzvah. He checked the date on the calendar and he said, unfortunately, I'm already booked that night. The woman then said to him, do you know of any other keyboard player musicians that you could recommend? And he said, sure. And he gave her 2 names of 2 other musicians. And he said, I was waiting for her to ask me a follow-up question. Either, well, which one is the better of the 2 musicians that I should try calling first? Or which one is the more affordable musician? But he said, I was surprised by her follow-up question. After I gave her the names of the 2 musicians, she said to me, which one of the musicians needs the livelihood, the income more? That's the way happiness thinks. Happiness thinks, how can I spread happiness to others? Because the more you give and spread happiness to others,